Oh, Pearson gets into the 95 of Folks. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona, and away go for the first time. Nicholas Morcel, Sean.
Looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Dom's, possibly a little bit of contact.
Now, as we've got three wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
Go out here for circuit disqualification. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
See just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
Smooth stuff. Cody Graham's the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, just insane.
They are ready to go. The lights are out, and away we go for the very first time here at Okayama International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the YesterYear Racing Cup Series here at the Old Bastards Racing League. We're at the virtual Kansas Speedway as we get ready to send 28 drivers out on track for today's feature event. As always, I'm your host, James E. Spring to Action 1080p 60 frames a second. And we want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors of the Old Bastards Racing League Cup Series, YesterYear Racing, Butt Kicker, Victory Lane Sports, and Top Flight Computers. Let us know where you're from, who you're cheering on, as drivers will frequently have this broadcast pulled up on a separate monitor or device, and if they don't, they just about always go back and watch this thing over again. We got Pac-Man join us cheering on the VLS drivers. On screen, that's Tom Ogle, the number 11 Ford Mustang. Picked up the win last week at Dover, but it's his teammate Josh Robinson still leading the points here. And oh no, Ogle's not going to have the qualifying he was looking for. Drills the wall on the outside of that Ford. His teammate and points leader Robinson out on track right now, the number 23 machine. We did have an off week last week. We had a media brownout at Dover, so we were not able to catch all that action, but looking to see how things are going to go as the points chase starting to tighten up just a little bit. You have Robinson still leading the points here. 33 points back is Ogle second in the championship running, and Courtney Nelson currently sits third in the championship. Jerry Isaacs fourth in points. And defending champ Greg McDaniel sitting in the top 5. Let's see what Ogle can do for a time after a rough outlap. That's going to be good enough for a fourth there for Ogle. And it looks like only a couple drivers out on track. Victor Lane, the number 10 machine, coming off his most recent pole at the VLS race this Friday night at Bristol, is going to be qualified 21st, I believe. Well, looks like Brian McCubbin and maybe Mark Fish aren't going to put down times here, and that's going to wrap up qualifying here in Kansas. And let's get ready for today's main event. Starting on pole, Dan Hill, the number 7 machine. Courtney Nelson starting second. Greg McDaniel starting third. Tom Ogle starting fourth. Robert Garisco starts fifth. Josh Robinson starting sixth. Lloyd Moore starting seventh. You've got Gavin Adams starting eighth. Jerry Isaacs starting ninth. Michael Everhart starting 10th. Wayne Hufford starting 11th. Alan Wanamaker starts 12th. Cycled on back to Brian Lindsay starting 13th. John Hinchcliffe starts 14th. You've got Brian Lynch starting 15th. Jeff Lydon starting 16th. William Martin starting 17th. Michael Watt starting 18th. Sean Foltz starting 19th. Tom Massey starting 20th. Victor Lane starting 21st. Andy Thomas starts 22nd. Dustin Martinson starting 23rd. Roger Hurley starts 24th. And we'll cycle it back one final time. Dave Matson starting 25th. Clay Walker starting 26th. You've got Brian McCubbin starting 27th. And Mark Fish, the number 42, will round out our field here today. We've got 140 laps on the board, ladies and gentlemen. That's Hill and Nelson on the front row. Nelson's going to be starting on the high side, the number 48. Dan Trashcan Hill's going to be starting on the inside, the number 7. Gridded up behind our iRacing safety car. And we are green flag racing here at Kansas. Some sharp looking race cars out on track. 28 drivers in a nice tidy pack. Now, John Hinchcliffe, Dustin Martinson had some EOL awards here today, so they're going to be starting at the back of the field despite their qualifying run. Nelson and Hill have a drag race here up front as Tom Ogle has gained 1 spot, now sitting in 3rd. Going to be interesting to see how the format works out here, and we'll see which drivers opt to hop in line as quickly as they can. Nelson showing as your race leader just by a hair here. Pulls about a 10th. Grabs a couple of car links there over Hill. And here comes Tom Ogle going to work the inside line against the number 7 Chevrolet of Hill. So Nelson's going to take over the race lead, the 48 now. In the driver's meeting, it was discussed that we're going to expect to see some green flag stops here at Kansas. That would be true to form for our OBRL drivers. We're expecting the fuel window to open up around lap 55, close around lap 65 for these drivers. And a lot of tiny packs going on right here. This is about 10th place back. Gavin Adams, the number 30 machine, being chased by Brian Lynch. You've got Titanium Everhart, Alan Wanamaker, Sean Foltz, Jeff Lyden, all in the fray here. Here's Jerry Isaacs, Lloyd Morris side by side for 8th. Isaacs has picked up a win here so far this season. That was just a few weeks ago, April 21st at Talladega Super Speedway. So I'm expecting to see Isaacs keep that momentum up. In the number 51 machine, I saw somebody tagging the wall there. I think that may have been, was that Adams, I think? The number 30 machine up high, sponsored by Kubota. The number 30 Chevrolet is down 5 spots now. Thankfully, the rest of the field able to work through there nice and clean. Lloyd Moore, the number 26 machine, currently 9th out on track here. And really good racing all across the track. Nelson still out front, your race leader, with Ogle and Hill rounding out the top 3. McDaniel and Garisco make up the remaining top 5. Lynch and Moore side by side. Lynch having a good run early on. He's up 6 spots. Second place driver Tom Ogle just set the fastest lap of the race, a 31.08. The field's starting to get a little bit spread out. Here's Dan Hill in 3rd. He's got Greg McDaniel linked up behind him. And then a pretty hefty gap back to Robert Garisco, Wayne Huffer running 5th and 6th. And then you've got about 3/4 of a second back to the rest of the field. Robinson and Isaacs linked up in tow. And they are about a second ahead of the main pack. That's about 9th place back. Lynch, Lindsay, Adams, Everhart, Wanamaker, Moore, Martin. The whole field is here in the fray. You're watching Everhart and Adams side by side. Everhart's down 1 spot. Adams down 4 after a brush against the wall. You see a little bit of smoke kick up there as he drags the wall ever so slightly. Only 9 laps in, and we've seen a couple of close calls so far here this evening. A little bit further back, that was the 94 of William Martin, all over the back of the 26 of Lloyd Moore. As the check up slightly here, Moore and Walker going to go side by side for 16th. Brian Lynch has moved up to P9, edging out Brian Lindsay here, but not by much, as it's a very busy racetrack. Good to see the multi-groove racing really coming into play. Hinchcliffe's going to lose a couple spots here, falling back. No, he's actually going to gain one against Lloyd Moore. Also gained one against Andy Thomas, who runs in 21st, the number 12 machine. And just a little bit further ahead, here is Lynch and Everhart battling just inside the top 10. Right behind them, Brian Lindsay, Gavin Adams, Alan Wanamaker. Looks like that's going to be Lindsay and Everhart side by side. Lindsay, that's going to be his 3rd spot gained if he can make it stick against Titanium. Lindsay working the outside line. The number 24 has a big run here. Can he do anything against Brian Lynch, who's going to stay down low, heading into turns 3 and 4? It seems interesting. Lynch able to run that kind of middle groove here and able to fend off those behind him, but Lindsay keeps having a great run there, the number 24, trying to get around. Now, if we continue going green, I wonder if Lindsay's going to chew up a little bit more tire than those around him, because you can see Everhart right in tow looking for an opportunity. Lindsay goes high here. Lynch staying down on that bottom groove. Now, Nelson's still your race leader, and he's got Ogle right off the back bumper of Nelson's 48 machine. And just ahead, about a second ahead of this pack, is Robinson, Garisco, Isaacs, Hufford, all 5th through about 8th place here. There's Robinson, the baby blue number 23 machine. Didn't have the qualifying run he was looking for, looking to crawl a little bit further forward throughout this event. Isaacs and Garisco side by side here for 7th. Now your top 4 have pulled about a 2.4 second gap over the rest of the field. Now I saw Michael Watts rolling out on track after 2 minutes and some odd repairs. I'm not quite sure what happened to Watts. Even get a replay queued up of that. I'm not quite sure what happened to Watts. It's like a big check up there in the 84. Followed by 2 minutes and 45 seconds down pit road for Watts. So it must have been tied up in some sort of tangle here. Didn't show on a crash report in the broadcast software. Up front, it's still Nelson, Ogle, Hill, 1, 2, 3, running nose to tail. They've shaken off Greg McDaniel. There's McDaniel, the yellow number 1 machine. And then McDaniel has a 2.4 second gap over Hufford and Robinson, who are going side by side here for 5th. That may allow Garisco and Isaacs a chance to close up here a little bit, as they're side by side still for 5th. Now something's going on up front as well. Dan Hill and Tom Ogle are going to go side by side for 2nd, and Hill's going to make quick work of that number 11 machine and moving the 7 back up into the 2nd place spot. Hill qualified on pole here tonight, so we know he has the pace, but we still have about 35 laps left before we might see some green flag pit stops. Now Nelson up front, that 48 is going to burn a little bit more fuel than Hill or Ogle over this run. Still good racing all across the track. There's Sean, the birthday boy Foltz, the number 95 Ford Mustang. He's got Dustin Martinson in hot pursuit. And not too far ahead of them, Brian McCubbin is watching some side-by-side racing with Mark Fish and Jeff Lyden for the 21st spot. McCubbin looked to put a nose in against Lyden in the 39. Wasn't able to quite find a place to do it, though. Or great racing, Everhart versus Lynch and Adams. Lynch running in 10th, the number 9 machine just ahead of Everhart. Then you can see Gavin Adams and now Dave Matson, the number 40 machine, starting to close the gap up as well behind these drivers. Matson's having a good run here, up 12 spots. That's going to put him as the hard charger of the evening. I just saw somebody, that was Matson. Little commentator's curse live for the fans at home. Drags the wall a little bit. Might lose a little bit of time here, as now Alan Wanamaker is going to join the party just outside that 13th position. Nelson still out front. Hill and Ogle round out those last 2 podium spots. And Hill really catching up to Nelson here. We go back up front. He is all over the back bumper, and Ogle has fallen off a little bit here. He's a 2nd back from the top 2. I wonder if he's maybe slowing down to try and link up with Craig McDaniel, picking up an ally here. Or maybe had some sort of mistake, as Ogle over a half second off the pace that last time by. We're not sure if Ogle had a mistake or if he's slowing down a little bit for McDaniel to link up. Hufford and Robinson linked up, so you've got 3 different packs of 2 up front. Nelson and Hill 1st and 2nd. Ogle and McDaniel 3rd and 4th. And now Robinson and Hufford are going to go side by side 5th and 6th. We got Fletcher Hellman cheering on Alan Wanamaker, the number 74 machine. Behind Hufford and Robinson side by side, that's Garisco and Isaacs lined up nose to tail. Little uncharacteristic, not even 30 laps in, seeing these drivers barely spread out. Robinson and Hufford still side by side here. A little bit further back, Adams and Madsen still having a battle for 12th. Madsen looking to get his 13th pass of the evening. He's by far and ahead the hard charger so far this evening, and it looked like very briefly Hill was making a run up there towards the front against Nelson within a 10th of a second of that 48 machine. Here we go side by side for 12th. Adams and Madsen putting on a show, the number 40 machine of Madsen versus the 30 of Adams. Madsen, if he can get clear here, doesn't look like he's going to, as Adams has a big run up against the wall. And here comes Michael Watts, number 84 machine. He's going to be a fistful of laps down after the uncharacteristic pit stop he took on lap 10. We're still not sure if he had damage or what was going on there with Watts, as he is slicing and dicing. That'll interrupt the battle for 12th a little slightly, and got to give a tip of the hat there is Clay Walker, the number 2 machine, now tied with Madsen for the most passes made. Both Madsen and Walker up 12 spots here tonight. About 23 laps before we begin our green flag pit stops. We think that fuel window will open around lap 55. Walker has a big run, the number 2, trying to work the outside line against Madsen for the battle for 13th. Whoever wins this one's going to take over that hard charger position. Looks like Walker might get clear here as he's using the draft off of Adams. And Walker will secure that 13th place position. Just behind them, Hinchcliffe and Wanamaker going side by side for 15th. And the lap time's definitely starting to slow down. Drivers are over a second off their fastest laps of the race, 34 laps into this 140 feature event. And it's making it very tough for drivers to make big passes here as the tires have started to fall off. Roger Hurley making some big rounds, the number 77 as well. He's now up 8 spots as he makes a pass against Wanamaker and Martin, who remain side by side, tucked in behind Hurley's 77 Toyota. So I think it's at this point of the race, you're going to see the drivers that are fairly good at tire management start to crawl their way upward. Now, we did hear some grumblings before this feature event as well, with a lot of drivers saying this is definitely not their favorite track that we run on the circuit. But next week we go to Darlington, followed by an off week, so maybe Kansas will be a fairly relaxing race before we go to Darlington, which has historically been a tough track to tame. I'm also looking forward to seeing hopefully some green flag stops here tonight. That is what the drivers of the YesterYear Racing Old Bastards Racing League Cup Series are known for. Is long green flag runs and some fantastic strategy shown by our drivers. Wanamaker falling back a little bit here, losing a spot to Andy Thomas, piloting the number 12. Jeff Lyden in tow as well, the number 39 machine. Everywhere we look, side-by-side racing. Ryan McCubbin makes his 10th pass, I should say, against William Martin. Up front, it's still Nelson being chased by Dan Hill. We get the camera pointer over there, separated by less than a tenth. Doesn't look like Hill trying to go for a pass here, but we did have a crash reported with John Hinchcliffe, the number 8. He's off track, so we're not seeing a caution here. Let's see what happened to Hinchcliffe, the number 8 machine. Oh, gets a little bit of a help there, I think, from the 77 of Roger Hurley. And that is confirmed as Hurley comes down pit road with a self-serving penalty. So here at the OBRL, the YesterYear Racing Cup Series, if you find yourself causing another driver having a crash, you can avoid future penalizations by self-serving a penalty. Now, I don't recall if it's a drive-through or an actual stop as Hurley is in his pit stall. I can't imagine he got too much damage on the hood of that 77 with that incident. Expecting the pit window to open up in the next 12 or 13 laps. It's going to close around lap 65 for these drivers. So any way you shake it, this is going to be looking at a 2-stop race here at Kansas. As the top 4 starting to close up a little bit here. Nelson has Ogle 3/10 off the back of him. Hill and McDaniel linked up 3rd and 4th as well. And Robinson not too far out of the picture. The baby blue number 23 machine sitting in 5th and starting to close up to the rest of the field here. So the way the opening 30 some odd laps started, I would not have expected these drivers to be bunching back up. Now Hinchcliffe in and out of his pit stall 15 seconds. Might have had some damages or at least some burnt up tires, the number 8, after being tangled up with Hurley. And things are definitely starting to tighten up here in the top 5. Looks like McDaniel's going to come down pit road, or at least he was hinting at it. Yes, McDaniel's down pit road. But we're going to see a few different strategies at play as Jerry Isaacs also coming down pit road. So only about 3 drivers have opted to box. Now we've got some more. Dave Mattson, Alan Wanamaker also opting to come down. That's 6 drivers starting so far. They're going to be a little bit off strategy as the majority of the field opts to stay out. About 20 drivers staying out here. Dan Hill, the number 7, he's down pit road. Nelson continues the charge up front. So since we were told the fuel window would close around lap 65, I'm beginning to think that drivers are pitting more so for tires than they are for fuel at this point, getting some fresh rubber underneath them. And to give you an idea, Courtney Nelson, who's led just about every lap here, that 48 up front, His fastest lap of the race was a 31.04. Last time by, Nelson with a 32.46, so just about a second and a half off pace. Here's Brian Lynch and Brian Lindsay coming down pit road. Brian McCubbin ripping the number 52 machine. That is going to be his 22nd position gained as he makes his way around Titanium Everhart. Now sits in 6th. There's Dan Hill, the number 7, getting back out on track and back up to speed after his pit stop on lap 45. I think Robinson, no, it was Courtney Nelson, the race leader, going to come down pit road. That's going to leave the two Team Miata drivers, Ogle and Robinson, up front, linked up nose to tail. There's somebody right behind him. I can't quite see who that is. That's going to be trying to unlap themselves here shortly. As Robinson and Ogle hold an 11.2 second advantage over third place back. Robinson tucks down the inside line. He's going to come down pit road. No, he's not. Robinson stays out. Trying to get a camera angle to see what driver that is right behind your race leaders. Oh boy, the race leaders are too wide as drivers are trying to unlap themselves after the pit cycle. Andy Thomas, Gavin Adams down pit road for their scheduled stops, as well as Sean Foltz and Michael Watts. There's the number 8 of John Hinchcliffe. Trying to get some momentum built back up here. Mark Fish also down pit road, the number 42 machine. Looks like lap traffic able to get by your race leaders. Brian Lindsay involved in a battle with Wanamaker Thomas. And looks like Thomas is going to fall back a little bit as he rolls out of pit road. Now I'm curious, when are these two drivers, Robinson and Ogle, going to finally make their way down pit road? Your top 6 has yet to come down pit road at this point. Robinson, Ogle, Martin, Everhart, Moore, and Lane. Staying out as long as they can, but there was another crash reported. This time it was with Andy Thomas and the number 12 machine. Just a little bit of too much throttle and a low gear, fresh tires. Fends Thomas around, thankfully off the racing line, so there will not be a caution for that one. Robinson continues to charge out front, the number 23 machine. Ogle goes up against the wall in second to allow traffic by. Top 2 still hold 12 seconds over William Martin, the number 94, who sits in the third place position. That's the number 42 of Mark Fish, looking to get a lap back here at Kansas. Most drivers, save for 6, have completed their green flag pit stop so far. Still waiting for the top 6 in the leaderboard to come down pit road for their first scheduled stop of the night. We're expecting a 2-stop race here this evening. And as I say that, unless drivers stretch out their second run, Ogle's going to come down pit road 56 laps in. We might see some drivers on a 3-stop strategy here tonight. Robinson, Martin, Moore, Everhart, and Lane opt to stay out as long as they possibly can. Here comes Dan Hill, the number 7 machine, going to unlap himself from Robinson. You've also got Greg McDaniel sitting right behind the number 1 machine. He's going to tuck in behind Hill up on the high side. Robinson stays low through 1 and 2 onto the backstretch here at Kansas. Go a little bit further back. We've got a battle for second. Lloyd Moore trying to hold off William Martin here after Moore moved up into second. A little bit of a wall drag there from Moore. Doesn't seem to lose any time. And that number 26 machine. Here we go. Race leader Robinson down pit road for his first stop of the night. Let's see, does Moore follow suit as well as Martin? Only a small handful of drivers have yet to pit here. Looks like Moore is going to stay out for a little while longer, as well as William Martin, the number 94. I'm very intrigued to see if we're going to see those 3-stop plays come into effect here at Kansas. And where is Robinson going to be out on track after his pit stop? Currently showing about the 9th place position. Let's make it 10th as Jerry Isaacs and Clay Walker, Robert Garisco, Robinson now showing 13th, 29 seconds back from the race leader. Lloyd Moore staying out, the number 26 as long as he can. The top 4 have yet to pit here. Moore's going to stay out, getting credit for the lap lead. The number 26, William Martin, sitting in second, also opting to stay out. Everhart and Lane have yet to pit either here. We've got a few different strategies starting to kind of work themselves through. We got Jeremy Mayo joined us in the spectator area. Now, Mayo's predicting a 2-tire stop for the 23, the number 11 machine. That'll be interesting to see if that comes to life. Because Ogle and Robinson, who are running first and second, now they're 13th and 14th out on track. But they're going to have at least 10-lap tires than most of the field at this point. Or still out front as you've got a few drivers unlapping themselves. That was going to be Alan Wanamaker, the number 74, getting back in the lead lap, as well as Brian McCubbin. Wanamaker and McCubbin running 15th and 16th. Your top 4 still out on their original sets of tires. As Lindsay, the number 24, the bright yellow Chevrolet, he gets back on the lead lap. I think that's going to be Jeff Lyden doing the same, the number 39. Yes, it is. Moore knows he's got some old tires underneath him, does what he can to hold a line, hops right back in the draft of the drivers who have just unlapped themselves. And Moore continues to pull a gap over Martin And the rest of the drivers on the lead lap. Moore now 2.5 seconds up over second place. Now, we expected the fuel window to close on lap 65, so Moore has been able to do a little bit of fuel saving here. Moore stays out yet another lap, starting the 66th lap here at Kansas. Let's see, is that Sean Folsom, number 95? Now, we talked about 2 stops. We talked about 3 stops. We didn't think anybody would try a 1 stop here tonight, but Moore getting closer and closer to the halfway mark. Looks like he's going to come down pit road here as he hugs the apron. No, he's not. So he's doing a little bit of different line choices. And I think Moore has been dedicated to this strategy since the beginning. He's only a second off his fastest lap of the race. Last time by, a 32.64. He might need a little bit of luck his way to make it to the halfway mark and pit under the cross green and white flags signaling the halfway mark. As way back in 13th, Robinson just clicked off the fastest lap of the race, a 31.03. William Martin in second. He's coming down pit road. Moore is trying something a little bit gutsy on strategy. So that leaves Moore, Everhart, and Lane, the only 3 drivers that have yet to pit. Let's look at the lap time as Moore crosses the line. A 32.39. He's not going that slow here in the 26. Everhart down pit road for what could be his only stop. If Moore can make this happen, he still shows up 9 seconds ahead of Dan Hill. This could work. Moore's losing a fair amount of time here to Hill, who's rapidly closing the gap. Hill came down pit road on lap 45. Everhart rolls out of pit road after what might be his only stop, and no way, Moore's going to go for another one here. But Moore trying to give himself the most amount of fuel to make it till the end here. Victor Lane, he's down pit road, the number 10 machine, for his scheduled stop. Moore is going to finally come down pit road. 71 laps completed on his original set of tires. We're going to keep an eye on that storyline to see where Moore ends up here. He stayed out as long as physically possible. I wish we had a picture of that fuel gauge with an onboard. And this is going to be your new race leaders, Hill and McDaniel. Hill came down pit road on lap 45, McDaniel on lap 44. That's going to put their next stop around lap 90 to 100, depending on how frisky they're feeling. We got Andrew Gross, road racing professional, joining, watching the oval shenanigans and enjoying the different strategies that we're seeing out on track here at Kansas. And for those that are just tuning in, we think there's 3 different strategies at play. We think there might be a spattering of drivers that are going to go for a 3-stop, opting to give up time on pit road in lieu of fresh tires to really hammer down. Majority of the field is looking to be on a two-stop strategy. And we've got a few absolute mad lads, such as Lloyd Moore, the number 26, that we think are on a one-stop strategy here. Andrew Gross thinking it's going to be Courtney Nelson, the number 48 machine. The Ally-backed Chevrolet is his choice to pick up the win here. I'm very intrigued to see what that 26 of Lloyd Moore can do with the strategy he is doing. Now, that is a lot of strategy, really gambling on no cautions. And when you've got drivers starting to bunch up, here's 12th place Brian Lindsay, chased by Leiden, Fultz, McCubbin. You've got to hope your strategy goes perfectly, and you've got to hope nobody else out on track causes an incident to throw a wrench in the proverbial gears. As we are 6 laps past the halfway mark here at Kansas, it's Hill, McDaniel, Nelson, your top 3. Hufford and Ogle rounding out the top 5. So a bit of a tight cluster of drivers. Fultz and Lindsay side by side. Line McCubbin side by side. This is 13th through 15th on screen. Might have had a bug on the camera there. We've got to get somebody down there and wipe it off. Fultz tucks in behind Lindsay. Looks like a big charge here from McCubbin, the 52, working the low side. There's Victor Lane, the number 10. He's got some fresh tires underneath him, so I imagine he's going to cut through. You know, I say that. I wonder if Lane's going to sit behind this pack and do a little bit of fuel saving, since he might be on a one-stop strategy. Dustin Martinson actually triggered our pit road lights very briefly, hugging the apron through 3 and 4. Now, I'm curious if Lane thinks he can also make it on one stop. He's not going to be in a big hurry to punch through the field and put those new tires to their optimal use here. I'd imagine Lane's going to tuck in behind and work that draft as long as he can to fuel save. A little further ahead, Jerry Isaacs, Clay Walker having a battle for 7th. Walker is up 18 spots here, the number 2 Ford Mustang. $60 laps left to go here at Kansas. We check in. There's your race leaders, Dan Hill, Greg McDaniel, 1st and 2nd. Right now, Mark Fish, the number 42, in the lucky dog contention, 1 lap down. Moore is about 35 seconds back from the race leader. That should put him not too far ahead here on track of Hill and McDaniel, 1st and 2nd. There's Moore just slowly working his way through the field, taking it easy, not trying anything too gutsy. We have a battle for 4th as well, as Robinson and Hufford side by side once more. Hufford up against the wall, Robinson down low. You can also see Tom Ogle, the white clawback number 11, sitting not too far behind as well. He's about 3/10 behind these two drivers battling for 4th. We still have 26 of our 28 drivers out on track. Dave Madsen and Roger Hurley have unfortunately retired their machines back behind the wall. And it is anybody's guess, I think, on how this is going to play out with all the different strategies currently in motion. Looks like Ogle is going to get clear here of Hubbard, putting that number 11 machine back up into the top 5. These 4th, 5th, and 6th place drivers about 2.6 seconds back from Dan Hill. And we're thinking about 10 more laps. We're going to see a lot of drivers coming down pit road. Now, we had Andrew Gross asking, do these drivers bump draft as much as maybe Andrew's experience in some road racing has been? And I've got to say, historically, in the hundreds and hundreds of iRacing broadcasts we've done here at TGS, predominantly bump drafting is usually just an oval thing. It wasn't until recently I really saw it come into play on road courses. So yes, there'll be some bump drafting. There's a lot of strategy that goes on in oval racing for those that have never ran it themselves. It's a bit of high-speed chess. The drivers not only trying to crank out fast lap times, but also trying to manage their tires. And I think I just saw Lloyd Moore unlap himself. Yes, I did. So Moore back on the lead lap in that number 26 machine. Last time by, he was a 31.53. So Moore barely on the throttle here, I think. Now, we haven't seen that much bump drafting in Kansas. It's been mostly a tire management game for these drivers. Or it must be feeling pretty confident on fuel if he was willing to use up a little bit extra there to get back on the lead lap. Walker and Isaac side by side for 7th. Walker still up 19 spots. So I agree with the fans saying it's pretty easy for Moore to work through the field here with those fresh tires underneath them, but and what I imagine is going to be very, very close on fuel. Moore seems to be carrying a much faster pace than he did in the opening half of today's main event. Like Nelson starting to get some company in 3rd, with Robinson charging for the number 23 machine. I think Robinson knows after Moore did that extremely long stint, 71 laps on his tank of fuel, the opening tank of fuel, Robinson's going to be hammering the throttle here as he works the inside line against Courtney Nelson, trying to work his way up into 3rd. Dan Hill, your race leader, down pit road. McDaniel will get credit for a lap led here in the number 1 machine. So that's going to be now Robinson battling for the 2nd place spot. Robinson has about 15 lap pressure tires underneath him as opposed to McDaniel or Nelson. But Nelson doing a good job, run that mid to high line, carrying a whole lot of speed, trying to keep the tire wear managed here. And I'm surprised to see Hill come down pit road all on his lonesome here, that number 7. Clay Walker also down pit road. McDaniel continues to run up front. Robinson's cleared himself into 2nd. His teammate Ogle worked his way up into 3rd. Robert Garisco, Clay Walker on pit road. Robinson takes over the race lead as McDaniel comes down pit road for his final scheduled stop of the night. Jeremy Mayo Thinking we're going to see Ogle and Robinson come down around that lap 115 to 120 mark. Isaac's also down pit road, as well as Brian Lynch, so we're seeing the final green flag stops of the evening. And keep an eye on that leaderboard, the left side of your screen. Boyd Moore currently showing 13th, and he's going to gain some spots here as there's a lot of drivers on pit road. Is it going to be enough, though, for Moore, as you've got a lot of fast drivers that are about to be rolling out with fresh tires underneath them? Looks like everybody so far on this pit cycle taking 4 fresh tires. There's Dustin Martinson going to go a lap down the number 19 machine. We're now up into the 8th place position. Wayne Hufford, who was 3rd, he's down pit road. So right now, it shows Moore 28 seconds back from your race leader. Pit lane time, the time that you cross the entry cones to the exit cones for some of our fast drivers has been about 45 seconds, accounting for a 4-tire stop. Tom Massey also down pit road. We haven't seen anybody take a two-tire stop yet, but that can save almost 7 seconds. But if my math is correct here, that's still going to put Moore as your race leader by 10 to 15 seconds if your top 2 drivers have a perfect pit stop and only take 2. So it's going to be very interesting if that plays out. We've seen some big pit strategy gambles in the past year, the YesterYear Racing Cup Series. I've got to say, if Moore can pull this off, might be one of the coolest ones we've seen in quite a while. Ryan Lindsay comes down pit road. His final time, that's going to show 6 drivers on the lead lap. Dustin Martinson also down pit road. But right now, Boyd Moore sitting in 5th. The only driver currently on the lead lap that we think could make it till the end. Brian McCubbin, who was running in 3rd, he's down pit road for his final stop. Michael Watts also comes down pit road. Robinson continues to rock and roll out front. That number 23 Ford Mustang up 5 spots from where he qualified. But we know everybody except Moore inside the top 5 at this point is going to have to come down pit road to make it till the end. Brian McCubbin leaving his pit stall, getting back out on track. Michael Watts going to rejoin the circuit as well. Sean Foltz, the 3rd place driver, the number 95, he's down pit road for the final time this evening. Final plan time, I should correct myself. If we have a caution, all bets are off on what's going to happen here. Ogle in 2nd, the number 11 machine. Going to leave his teammate out on track as Ogle comes down pit road. We're watching the live timing tower. Robinson maintaining about a 27-second advantage over Moore. Let's see, does Ogle take 2 tires on this stop? Right side of the car is in the air. What about the left? Ogle's going to go for 4 here. Mark Fish, the number 42, he's down pit road for his final scheduled stop. So Ogle on a 4-tire strategy here. Is the fresh rubber worth the time? As Ogle currently showing 10th place, a lap down here. It's just Robinson, Moore, Adams. Your top 3, the only drivers on the lead lap. And now Adams down pit road, the number 30. It is going to be a battle of strategy and fuel saving here tonight. Can Robinson hit his pit cycle perfectly and still have the pace to get back out on track? And that is if Lloyd Moore can fuel save enough the number 26 machine to make it till the end. Last time by, Moore with a 31.98. Robinson had a 31.2. Robinson's down pit road. Let's watch the cycle for the 23. We're waiting to see, does Robinson only take right tires? Can't see nothing from there. Let's see, does he take lefts? The right side is up. What about the lefts for Robinson? Does he gamble? Robinson taking 4 here. The Robinson rolls back out on track. Moore now your race leader with a 9-second advantage over McDaniel. McDaniel has 20 lap fresher tires underneath him. Less than 40 laps left to go here at Kansas. We pan back to second place driver Greg McDaniel. He's got Dan Hill, Courtney Nelson, a little bit of lap traffic in tow. Is the draft enough to help them track down Moore? Or is the dirty air going to slow down McDaniel, Hill, and Nelson? You've also got the number 24 machine of Brian Lindsay tucked in behind this pack. And they are slowly tracking down Lloyd Moore. There's several people that have a great shot of winning it here tonight. Moore on the alternative strategy, holding that 8-second advantage. McDaniel in second. He came down period lap 91. He's looking good to make it till the end here. But I would not discount Josh Robinson, number 23, who came down period lap 101. And who's going to put those fresh tires to work here. Or is it a tough spot? He's got drivers unlapping themselves with fresher tires. And he's got to make sure he's got the fuel to make it till the end here. So interesting as well, going off what Mayo's saying in the spectator area, now a caution would serve Moore extremely well. And with the amount of drivers on different tire strategies, and he almost got the caution as there's some sort of contact between Nelson and Hill. Thankfully, everybody able to hold on to it. No, they're not. Nelson said not today, and Hill is off track, and we've got our first caution of the night. Moore just had a huge gift handed to that number 26 machine. Let's back this up, get the replay queued up. As Nelson gives a hearty shove there, let's back this up. I want to see the initial contact. Enhance. So Nelson and Hill make a little bit of contact. They're bumping and leaning on each other here. And then contact sends the MXPX back number 7 careening around. And that's going to be our first caution of the night. Moore is looking good here. Does anybody stay out, such as Robinson and Ogle? No, Robinson's down pit road. Ogle's down pit road. Oh, Moore's got to be happy here. He's going to take 4 tires, a little bit of gas, make it till the end. It's going to be a lot of traffic out of pit road in this cycle. There goes Moore on the throttle. Oh, has the pit stops cleared by a country mile, but looks who's going to be right behind him. Robinson, Ogle, McDaniel, Hufford. That's a lot of fast drivers right behind Lloyd Moore, and Hill staying out. So everybody thinking the fresh tires are worth the little bit of track position that could be gained here on the cycle. Now we think Robinson and Ogle are on a 2-tire strategy here. Robinson in and out of his pit stall in 10 seconds. Ogle 9.8. So a bit of a compromise there for the Miata drivers. Came down pit road. Even though they were on 9-lap old tires. We're fairly confident took 2 fresh rights on that cycle. So kind of the best of both worlds, the track position and a little bit fresher tires underneath them. So Hill staying out number 7 machine. He'll come down pit road here, I wonder. Last pit stop was on lap 90. There's going to be a whole lot of drivers getting a wave around here. And it's going to be less than a 30-lap shootout. Yes, Dan Hill comes down pit road. That's going to put Moore and Robinson on your front row. Ogle and McDaniel your second row. Hufford and Isaacs your third row. All predictions now out the window, and I have no idea what's going to happen up here in the broadcast booth. Jeremy Mayo thinking in less words, he's saying that cautions breed cautions, and I think I've got to agree here. You've got the field restacked, a second chance of a race here at Kansas. Everybody just about has fresh tires. The top 13 all came down pit road and lapped out 107. Only Ogle, Isaacs, and Robinson out of that top 10 are on a 2-tire strategy. How much are the 4 tires going to be worth here as we are green flag racing once more? Ogle tucked in behind Moore on the inside line. Robinson and McDaniel up on the high side. Moore hops up to the high side as well in the 26. Making that car 2 lanes wide, keeping the Robinson and Ogle freight train in tow. And now as tire wear, not so much of a concern. And especially fuel mileage thrown out the window. Moore is going to hammer down with everything he has in that number 26. He's going to try and get his first win of the season here. Again, with a little bit of a scrub against the wall, the number 1. Falls back. Moore running good, but Robinson's closing up behind him. Gary Isaacs sitting in a strong 5th. Moore just set his fastest lap of the race, a 30.91. But it was immediately answered by Robinson, who set the fastest lap of the race with a 30.88. Robinson trying to work the high side, seeing if he can slingshot past the 26 of Moore. Ogle looking for an opening here up against the high side. Now, Ogle and Robinson are going to try and work together here and track down Moore. They're not going to fight too intently here for that second place spot. Oh, Ogle way up against the wall there. Trying to diamond the corners a little bit, side by side for the race lead. It's Moore versus Robinson. Robinson ahead by a bumper heading into turn 3. Moore's going to keep working the inside line. He's got the support of Jerry Isaacs, the number 51 machine, who's working his way up into podium contention. We are 2 wide and 2 deep for the race lead here at Kansas. It's Robinson and Moore. Up front, right behind them, Ogle and Isaacs. Greg McDaniel, Courtney Nelson have a great view of the battle ahead. Robinson might get clear here. He's about a 10th up. And both Robinson and Ogle dethroning Moore from the top spot. Here comes McDaniel and Nelson on the high side. Moore falling out of contention a little bit as Robinson, Ogle, McDaniel battling intently for those top spots. McDaniel sporting that number 1 plate for a reason. He is very attuned to the racecraft that goes on here as we are 25 laps left to go at Kansas. Oh, I saw Moore and Isaacs getting a little bit squirrely there. Moore has the elbows out as we go 3 wide. You've got Nelson, Isaacs, Moore putting on a show for that 4th place spot. Now Wayne Hufford's going to join the fray, the number 75 machine. You got Everhart and Walker also joining up with this top 5 pack. Your race leaders, Robinson and Ogle, going side by side. Now, Robinson, here's your points leader. Ogle was in 2nd. Courtney Nelson was 3rd in points coming into tonight. It is elbows out in what was a very calm opening 107 laps. Or still running that inside line. Side by side with Isaacs on his right-hand side. Isaacs, the blue and yellow 51 machine. Courtney Nelson, number 48, looking for a podium, if not better, as he's right off the back bumper of Greg McDaniel. Wayne Hufford looked like he was getting a little bit of a tail swap there in the 75. The outside line seems to be a little bit quicker as everybody's running in a freight train here. Robinson a 3/10 breakaway from Ogle in 2nd, but I don't think he's going to be able to break away much as everybody's slamming around here. That's Lloyd Moore tags the wall. Drivers hitting speeds in excess of 195 miles an hour when they're tucked in the draft. Let's see if we can get on board here. On board with Courtney Nelson, you see the Cartoon Network number 1 machine of Greg McDaniel. And we talked about it early on. It's a game of high-speed chess in these next-gen Cup cars. So Nelson, Isaacs, Moore, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Can see a possible podium right ahead. And who is that? That's Everhart, the number 17 machine. Muscling his way a little bit further forward here. Everhart and Moore going to go side by side for 6th. But now Moore has joined that freight train running the high groove here at Kansas. Looks like he's going to hop out of line to take a peek to the inside line of Jerry Isaacs as we hint at 3 wide and shuffle it very quickly back into 2 wide. We've got some racing going on, ladies and gentlemen. Look how things are stacked up front as well. I'm not sure if Ogle had a bobble, but McDaniel, oh no, I see Jerry Isaacs going for a ride. We're going to have some huge hits here. Isaacs involved. Who else is tied up in that one? Oh, a precarious spot to be parked for Jerry Isaacs. But yeah, there was a checkup up front. Nelson tagged the back of a McDaniel, and then it just kind of starts barreling in. Oh, there's going to be a lot of hits there. I know Moore is involved. Isaacs. I couldn't see who got disqualified there. Let's check that one more time. I don't think that was Garisco. That Isaacs that got DQ'd. No, that was Nelson gets DQ'd as the rest of the field comes barreling in. The second caution of the night. It's Robinson, Ogle, who would currently make up your front row. McDaniel and Everhart, your second row. Moore and Hinchcliffe would be the third row. I want to watch that one more time, I think. Let's back this up and see what caused the checkup. We know Nelson got into the back of McDaniel, but what caused the slowdown here? Ogle gives a little bit of a tap to his teammate Robinson. No worries, everything's still on pace. Tell Ogle lifts a little bit. Still on pace here. Lifts a lot. McDaniel slows down. Nelson gives a shot to the back of McDaniel. Tries to collect himself. But the field had no idea there was a checkup. And then everybody comes smashing into this one. And poor Isaac's got the worst end of it. He gets tagged by just about everybody here. That was John Hinchcliffe, the number 8 machine. Who comes down pit road with 16 laps left to go? Looks like it's Victor Lane, Brian McCubbin, Brian Lindsay, Dustin Martinson, Brian Lynch down pit road. Alan Wanamaker's also going to come down pit road. But most people in the top 10 opt to stay out for the track position. So keep an eye out on Victor Lane. He's going to be starting 10th after our second caution here at Kansas. He will have the freshest tires out on track in the top 10. But Robinson and Ogle, your front row. McDaniel and Everhart, your second row. Moore and Hinchcliffe will make up your third row. I want to look here as well. Keep an eye out on Everhart starting 4th. Showing the number 17 on live time and the 71 on track, but Everhart's highest finish so far this season was an 8th. If I'm looking correctly, Everhart has not had a top 5 in a Cup Series race since 2021. His last win was November 21st, 2021 at Darlington. So here we go. Will we get some green flag racing till the end, or is there going to be more carnage for these drivers? Everhart doesn't get the launch he was looking for on the high side. Robinson and Ogle side by side. Moore still very much in it. The number 26 machine working the inside line. He's got Greg McDaniel up high and Clay Walker, the number 2 machine, following in hot pursuit here. Everybody trying to get to the high line as quickly as they can, it looks like. That's where Robinson, Ogle, and McDaniel are, as well as Clay Walker. Moore staying down low here. Brian Lynch sitting in 10th it's going to be Brian McCubbin in 9th with the freshest tires out on track, trying to get something going here. Robinson side by side with his teammate Ogle for the lead. McDaniel sitting in 3rd. Moore and Walker round out the top 5. Still showing as 22 drivers out on track. 23 drivers of our 28 entries here tonight. We are side by side for the race lead. Ogle and Robinson still putting on the show. McDaniel sitting in 3rd. Warren Walker going side by side as we see a little bit of dirt kicking up in the back as the field stacks up from about 7th place back. That might allow the top 5 drivers a bit of a breakaway. Moore and Walker still side by side. I see some 3 wide action hinting just behind. Oh, this is where things can get a little bit spicy. Number 95 machine, Sean Foltz, in the middle of the 24 of Brian Lindsay, the number 30 of Gavin Adams. But we got a big blink there at a very inopportune time. And Brian Lindsay with a massive hit, the number 24 machine. No caution as he is off track. Oh, Lindsay and Foltz, a little bit of contact. And unfortunately, Lindsay gets the bad end of that one. And he is going to drill the wall here in Kansas. Up and over goes Brian Lindsay. And a spectacular rollover, the 24. I'm glad we queued up that replay. 9 laps left to go here at Kansas. It's Robinson and Ogle 1st and 2nd. McDaniel in that final podium spot. Walker and Moore still side by side here for 4th. Walker up 22 positions as our hard charger of the evening. Keep an eye out on Brian Lynch in 6th. Just set his fastest lap of the race with a 30.95, 14 lap fresher tires for Lynch. And back to Brian Lynch. He makes a spot against Floyd Moore. With 8 laps left to go, can Lynch grab himself a podium in that number 9 machine? Moore ran so well all race. He's now running that mid to upper high line as Lynch putting those fresh tires to work. I can also see Victor Lane, that bright pink and kind of silverish number 10 machine, rolling his way up the standings, accompanied by Brian McCubbin, the 52. There's a lot of drivers that came down pit road and grabbed 4 fresh tires. And who's that squeezed in the middle? That's Everhart in another 3 wide situation. You see Lane up on the high side, Brian McCubbin down low. Easy does it, gentlemen, as we get gridded back up double file. Formed back up double file. Walker and Lynch battling for 4th. Lynch can now see a podium just ahead of him. As we click it over, 5 laps left to go. Can Lynch make something happen here? Lynch came into tonight 7th in points. He's caught up to the back of, that's going to be Greg McDaniel. Lynch's highest finish so far this season was a 6th back in early April at Martinsville. So at number 9, looking for his first podium of the season. Here we go. Lynch dives down the inside line, and McDaniel, does he have enough tires left to try and make something happen? He pulls up alongside the number 1 of McDaniel. McDaniel showing ahead by about a 1/10 of a second. Lynch able to run that inside line with those fresher tires, and Lynch is going to make it a 2-for-1, getting around Ogle and McDaniel here. Just like that, Lynch works his way up into second, pushing McDaniel out of podium contention. 3 laps left to go. Is Lynch going to be happy settling for second? Is he going to battle with Robinson for the race lead here? If we take the white flag, we will not use our green-white checker overtime attempts. And right now, all eyes on the Hooters back number 9 of Brian Lynch. Who's looking for not only his first podium of this season, but maybe his first race win of the season. We get ready to unfurl the white flag at the start-finish line here at Kansas. Lynch is going to take a look to the inside line against Robinson. Robinson shows up a little bit, about a 1/10.5, almost 2/10. Lynch has about a 3/10 advantage over Ogle, so doesn't want to risk it too much here. Oh, this is going to be good. The white flag unfurls here at Kansas. It's Robinson, Lynch, Ogle. 1, 2, 3. White flag is out. Side by side for the race lead. Lynch is willing to go for it here. It's going to be a drag race down the backstretch. Ogle pulls a little bit of time to his advantage. He's got a 1/10 over Lynch. Lynch has time for one more big send through 3 and 4. They're side by side coming around the final 2 corners. Ogle has company from Victor Lane. Who's it going to be at the line? It's going to be Josh Robinson by a hair. 0.04 of a second. Brian Lynch will get second, and Tom Ogle will round out the top 3. As we get our celebratory photos here at Kansas. What a great race from these drivers. They're trying to figure out how to park, I think. What a fantastic race from these drivers. Robinson, Lynch, Ogle. Tip of the hat to Victor Lane. He's up 17 spots up into 4th. Brian McCubbin, 20 spots up into 7th. As our hard charger. Clay Walker also up 17 spots, made his way up into 9th. There were some big moves being able to be made here, but man, that's one of my favorite oval races I've called in quite a while, I would say. Gavin Adams, unfortunately, joining us. As there is Robinson burning it down here. Definitely had to work for it. As we get our top 3 drivers up here to victory lane. Waiting on our top 3 drivers, waiting on Robinson, Lynch, Ogle to make their way up here to the waiting room. And then we can get the celebratory podium shenanigans started. Looks like we're starting to get everybody up here into victory lane. So we're going to get things started with Mr. Tom Ogle, the number 11 machine. Tom, it looked like it was going to be a long race. Green flag stops, nice and easy here at Kansas. And then that immediately went out the window around that lap 107 mark.
Yeah, I kind of needed that caution. My goose was sort of cooked. I ran too hard to make up the lost time on the overcut, and by the time I got to them, I kind of had burnt up my stuff, and they were pitting anyhow, so I'm not sure how I was going to turn out there at the end.
Now,
but that caution saved me, sort of.
Yeah, I mean, we went from a long run race to a very short run race, and it was elbows out for all of you guys.
Yeah, Josh and I both took 2 on the last stop. That's how I got my track position. And I kind of expected it to loosen up the car, but it didn't. And I could get up next to Josh, but I just couldn't clear him. And if it was a little bit later in the race, I might have forced the issue. But I figured it would be a bad look if I wrecked the entire field.
Yeah, generally frowned upon here at the OBRL now.
Yeah, if I pinch him into the fence. Now, one time I had to run on the outside of him, and he kind of moved up, and if I was in there, I was not going to lift, I told him. So keep in mind the whole time we're doing this, we're talking to each other.
Now, Tom, talk about the 2-tire strategy. With hindsight being what it was the track position worth only taking 2 on that cycle?
I think so, because I didn't have that many laps on my lefts. You know what I mean? I kind of did the overcut, and I think I only had I was like 97% on my left side tires. So it definitely was worth it to me.
Hey, go ahead.
I mean, because I probably gained 5 or 6 spots, and then when you put everybody on equal tires there, it's so hard to run the bottom. And then Josh got a great start on that last restart. I thought being on the top would have been an advantage, but he kind of had a push that helped him get out in front of me then. But it was a good race. It was intense.
It was a lot of fun for us to watch and call the action up here.
Good,
Tom,
good.
Super cool to have you back up here in the top 3. Unfortunately, we missed your success last weekend, but for tonight as well, at least, who do you want to give a shout to that helps put you up here in podium contention?
Josh and all my teammates. Dan Hill was probably the fastest car, and he had some bad luck. And I really want to give a shout out to Brian Lynch. He works really hard and puts in laps, and he really is improving, and he really got he finally got a result that he deserved tonight. So I was really glad to see that. I was kind of rooting for him there at the end.
Well, very well said. Tom, always a pleasure, my friend, and we'll hopefully have you back up here next week.
No problem. I'll see you next week. Have a good week.
You as well, sir. That was Tom Ogle bringing it home in 3rd. And now for the first time this season, Brian Lynch, the first podium of the season, I believe, and a highest finish of the season.
Yeah, kind of got lucky there. I was in the top 10, then I screwed myself on the pit stop and lost a bunch of ground. Then the caution came out, and I got the wave around. And then that last caution was just what I needed, I guess.
I was going to say godsend, but yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Put you right back in the mix. You had the 4 fresh tires underneath you, a little bit fresher tires than everybody else did on track, and you were absolutely blitzing through the field.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how many guys pitted, but yeah, just nothing left. No saving, I guess.
Well, Brian, the last time we had you with a good result was 6th back at Martinsville last month, a very tight technical track. It seemed like things kind of went your way with Kansas, but any other circuits in particular you're super excited about to run that Hooters back number 9?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to look at the schedule. I don't really know what's coming up, I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, Brian, super cool to have you up here for the first time this season, man. We don't get to talk to you enough, and the other podium drivers were definitely saying you absolutely earned it tonight. But before I let you go and unwind from this one, who do you want to give a shout to that helped make it happen?
Just everybody in the league. The admins do a great job, and the sponsors and my teammates, Josh and Tom and Dan and Hinchcliffe.
Well, hey, Brian, super cool to have you up here. Hopefully it's a little bit of momentum for you in that number 9, and a pleasure talking to you. And again, congratulations on a very well-earned second here.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for the broadcast.
Thank you, sir. That was Brian Lynch bringing it home in second, his first podium of the season. And now it's time, Josh Robinson, the number 23. Welcome back to the top spot, and no chance to have a bit of a break there in those last 30 or 40 laps.
Oh no, that was intense. Tom and I were we have an open mic and we were ribbing each other the whole time. I kept telling him he was gonna have to pass me in the grandstands.
Yeah, he was. He made a couple of comments about that as well in his podium interview, saying, "Hey, you know, if it would look bad if I put him into the fence, but I did warn him at one point." So good to hear you guys are having a bunch of fun out there this evening.
We had a mutual understanding for sure.
That's a very polite way to put that. Now, Josh, after that late race caution in a race that looked like it was going to go green for quite a while, were you even thinking about a dark horse such as Brian Lynch with 4 tires able to make something of it here?
I was. I knew a couple guys back there that had a new set left would be able to navigate traffic, and you gain about half a second to 0.7 seconds a lap on fresh tires. So I knew they were going to be tough. Brian runs well. A lot of those guys run well. So with an extra set of tires, it was almost academic, and he got a little bit of a push in 1 and 2, and then I was able to take a little bit of advantage off of that and keep a distance going into 3. But we were probably half a lap to a lap away of it just being over.
Now, and talking about that too, we noticed you and Ogle on that pit cycle only took rights, so your lefts were 8-9 laps older than the rest of the field, and we're kind of splitting hairs in a 30-40 lap sprint. But were you worried that those lefts were going to be the cause of your demise and missing out a win here?
I wasn't. I was actually pretty excited to get on those 2 tires. The main reason to do it was track position, and then the other reason was the car was getting pretty tight late in a run, and then if you don't have a full tank, it gets a little bit tighter. So I wanted those older lefts to free the car up a little bit, and so you didn't have to lift at all coming out of 2. You could really just run it wide open, and it rotated so much better. Now with 40 lap left side tires, I'm not sure I would take 2, but with 8 lap old tires, I'm gonna try it.
Well, hey, man, glad it worked out well. That was a ton of fun to watch. I mean, we had great strategies at play. We had cautions at the most inopportune times for most of the field. So definitely a lot of curveballs here at Kansas. But now, Josh, you got the privilege, the pleasure, the final send-offs of the night. Who do you want to give a shout to that helps you put you back in the top spot here at the YesterYear Racing Cup Series?
I want to thank you guys for putting on a good show every week. I want to thank the admins and Victor over at OBROL for keeping this thing going. And as always, I want to thank Team Miata, and an extra shout out to our Team Miata B-Class driver and Tom Ogle this week.
Classic Ogle. He's still working on that safety rating. Robinson, always a pleasure, buddy, and hopefully we'll have you back up here next week.
Have a good one, James.
You, sir. And that was Josh Robinson joining us in that number 1 spot. He was accompanied by Brian Lynch and Tom Ogle, rounding out the top 3. On behalf of the YesterYear Racing Cup Series here at the Old Bastards Racing League, Butt Kicker, Victory Lane Sports, and Top Flight Computers, my name has been James East with Team Goon Squad Broadcasting. Thank you all so much for spending your Sunday night with us, and we'll see you at the next one. Have a great night, everybody.